How much do you know about Gordon Ramsay, the British chef famed for his sharp tongue and Michelin stars? Sure, he may be worth millions of dollars and have a string of successful restaurants and TV shows, but Chef Ramsay has a seriously shady past. Take for example, the way he treated his mentor, Marco Pierre White. When Gordon was first starting out as a young, inexperienced chef in London, it was Marco Pierre White who employed Gordon and took him under his wing. By his own admission, Ramsay admits that Marco Pierre White was a father figure to him, which, given the males in Gordon's life up until that point, is not really surprising. You see, Ramsay's real father was a violent alcoholic who frequently cheated on his mum. His brother was, and possibly still is, a heroin addict. So, as far as male role models go, when Pierre White tutored and helped Ramsay, teaching him the skills he's famous for today, he became the father figure Ramsay never really had. And that's what makes this betrayal so shocking. Let me explain what happened and why Gordon is one of the shadiest celebrities around. To really understand this, let me give you the backstory. So, back in 1993, after a spell working in France, Chef Ramsay returned to London and needed a job. It was Marco Pierre White who introduced him to three wealthy Italian bankers who were just about to launch a new restaurant in an upmarket part of London. On Marco's recommendation, Ramsay was hired as the head chef, and he was also given a 25% stake in the restaurant. And to his credit, Ramsay seized the opportunity and did remarkably well. Within 2 years of launch, he'd earned the restaurant its first Michelin star, the highest possible accolade in the culinary world. The restaurant, called Aubergine, was fully booked for months in advance, and Ramsay had become a rising star in the industry. All was going well. Pierre White and Ramsay remained great friends, and the restaurant, which Ramsay was a part owner of, was earning more and more money. Now, fast forward to 1998. Aubergine had just earned its second Michelin star. Things were going so well that the Italian bankers decided to open a second restaurant in London, and there were also rumours of a New York restaurant in the near future too. But being savvy businessmen, the Italians knew that they had to tie down their star asset, Chef Ramsay, to a long contract. They couldn't risk him leaving. Ramsay was reluctant to commit. He refused to sign a contract. His argument was that although he was a shareholder and part owner of the restaurant, he never got to see the finances, so he never truly knew if he was being paid what he should have been. And that might have been true, but by this point, Ramsay had also had his head turned. As a newly married man with a glowing reputation and also a baby on the way, he was tempted to go it alone, and he wanted to open up his own restaurant. And so, the more Ramsay stalled on signing a new contract, the more the Italians got worried. They started pressurising Ramsay to sign, and he became convinced that he was about to be fired and replaced by Marco Pierre White. What caused this paranoia? White was alleged to have had Aubergine's menu on his desk. He was also, according to Ramsay, responsible for a bad review of the restaurant that had just appeared in a national newspaper. In Ramsay's mind, the bad review was down to Pierre White trying to discredit Ramsay, not only to get his job, but to also ensure that Chef Ramsay didn't break Pierre White's record of being the youngest chef in Britain to earn 3 Michelin stars. At the time, the accolade was Pierre White, but Ramsay was 1 star away and still had a few years to beat him. So, in an attempt to turn the Italian owners away from Marco Pierre White, Ramsay did the unthinkable, one of the most shady, criminal things you could imagine. He hired a man on a motorbike to pull up in front of the restaurant, run in wearing a mask, steal the reservation book, then drive off. At the time, before computerised bookings, a restaurant's reservation book was incredibly important. It was the only way to organise a business. The reservation book had 6 months worth of bookings listed, so without that, the restaurant was operating blind. Imagine not knowing who was coming, what day you had reservations, what days you were free to book new people in for. It was a total disaster for the Italian owners, and what's more, Ramsay, in a particularly sneaky move, managed to convince them that it was Pierre White who was responsible for the robbery. Ramsay argued that this was Pierre White's way of sabotaging their success and becoming the new head chef himself. Ramsay's plan worked, and the Italians stopped speaking to White. And what made matters worse was that Ramsay wasn't even committed to the restaurant. Within a few months, he'd quit his role as head chef, vandalised the kitchen, and opened his own restaurant which he'd been secretly preparing all the while. Ramsay even took with him many of the kitchen staff from Aubergine to his new restaurant. Understandably, the Italians were furious and they sued Ramsay for £1 million, with the case eventually being settled out of court for an undisclosed fee. It was only years later, after Pierre White had been the chief suspect all along, having his name and his reputation dragged through the mud, that Ramsay finally admitted his responsibility for the crime. In an interview with the New Yorker magazine in 2007, close to a decade later, Ramsay admitted, "It was me. I nicked it. I blamed Marco because I knew it would f*** him, and that it would call off the dogs. I still have a book in a safe at home. It was one of my strokes of genius, f***ing someone over without his knowledge that I was the one who done it. And the restaurant owners cutting Marco off and wanting to get closer to me, kissing my ass, that was stone cold. Even now it sends a chill down my spine, because it would have been all over if I'd been caught." The betrayal really hurt Pierre White. When asked about it, he said, "I will never speak to Ramsay again. I gave him his first break in the business, and I believe strongly in being loyal to people who have helped you. He looked me in the face and put a knife in my back. I have never spoken to him since, and nor will I. Jealousy is the only reason I can give for it." Ouch. It takes a seriously cold-hearted, shady guy to frame a mentor or a father figure for a masked robbery. But it doesn't end there. This isn't the only shady thing that Ramsay's done. In fact, it seems Chef Ramsay has a track record of deceit and betrayal. Take, for example, his extramarital affairs. In 2008, a woman called Sarah Symonds, famous for being, by her own admission, a professional mistress, claimed in her book that she'd been having a secret affair with Gordon for 7 years. Ramsay had been married to his wife Tania for almost 10 years at this time, and he had 4 children with her. So the fact that he'd allegedly been having an affair for the vast majority of their marriage was gut-wrenching to his wife, and a real scumbag move on Ramsay's part. Interestingly, despite denying the allegations, Ramsay never sued Miss Symonds for the claims in her book, and many people suggest that the reason he didn't go after her in court is because she had proof to back up her claims, which he didn't want to be aired in public. And it's not like he doesn't have a track record for cheating. When he first met his now wife Tania, she was actually dating and living with his friend Tim, a sous chef. Despite their 8-year age gap, Ramsay was able to steal Tania off his friend and spent many months secretly seeing her behind Tim's back. And even before that, when he was 19 and working as a chef at a small restaurant called the Wickham Arms, he was sacked after the owner of the restaurant discovered Ramsay was sleeping with his wife, who was 14 years his senior. When asked about this incident, Ramsay said in an interview, "It was great because all the knowledge she was teaching me in terms of making love, my girlfriend benefited." We can take it from that quote that he also had a girlfriend at the time too. So not only was he cheating on her, but he was also sleeping with a married woman, his boss's wife. Damn, that's seriously shady. But listen to this, it gets even more weird. Check out what happened to Ramsay and his father-in-law, Christopher Hutchins. Tania's father was Ramsay's business partner for a long time. In fact, it was his father-in-law that loaned him the money to open up his first restaurant when he left Aubergine, and their relationship continued to flourish as Ramsay's empire grew. However, in October 2010, Ramsay accused Christopher of stealing £1.4 million from the company they owned, and he went on to sack him over the dispute. As things began to get nasty, as family disputes so often do, Gordon finally revealed what he'd known for a long time, that Tania's dad, the grandfather to his children, had kept a secret family, including 2 illegitimate children, hidden from his wife and kids. Gordon claimed that he kept the knowledge of the lies from his wife in order to protect her. It was only after they fell out over the £1.4 million did Ramsay finally do something by hiring a private detective to take pictures of his father-in-law with his mistress through a bedroom window. I mean, come on, surely if you know something like that, you'd tell your wife. The fact that he kept that secret from his wife for so long is wrong on so many levels. Some people, including Sarah Symonds, claimed that the reason Ramsay didn't tell Tania sooner was because if he'd revealed his father-in-law's infidelity, his father-in-law would have exposed Ramsay's affair with Sarah, so both had something to lose by going public. Man, that's just messed up. father-in-law and son-in-law in some kind of weird pact not to expose their cheating ways. It seems there's a lot of lies, deception and cheating going on in Gordon's world. What are your thoughts? Do you agree that Chef Ramsay is one of the shadiest celebrities around? Leave a comment below, and hey, if you've learned something new today, give this video a like and share it with a friend. Catch you in the next video.